Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chris here, and today I want to talk to you about Android games, more specifically Android games that you can play with a PS4 controller. You see, about 5 months ago I made a video called 10 Android games to play with your PS4 controller, and it's since become my most successful video ever. So when someone commented on my video about a week ago asking me to make another video, it seemed pretty obvious that I should. So here are 10 more games to play with a PS4 controller on your Android device. The first game I had any real luck with was Dead Trigger 2. Not only did this game work, it was one of the few Android games I've tried that lets you map the controller input exactly as you'd like. It even came up with a prompt to do so when I first started playing. I noticed that despite choosing buttons for next and previous weapons, the only way to switch seemed to be tapping on the other weapon on the screen. Although I'm not sure if that was only for switching back and forth between melee weapons and guns, it was kinda weird. Either way, the game plays really well with a controller other than that. There did seem to be some noticeable input lag, but I don't know if that's something that happens with every controller on this game, or even if that's just the way the game was running on my tablet. Overall, this has great controller support, and with one, it feels like a fairly legit first-person zombie shooter. Next up is Dungeon Hunter 5. This top-down dungeon crawler game was exactly what I'd hoped it would be. You slay monsters with your sword, drink potions, level up, and blast your enemies with bolts of lightning. The best part, of course, is that it works great with a PS4 controller. I quickly learned that what the game thought was the A button was actually square on the controller, and what it thought was B is X, and from then on it was pretty easy. And these controls worked really well, actually. You may want to use the touchscreen for managing your inventory, but this is definitely a game that you can have a lot of fun with using your PS4 controller. And on the note of the inventory screen, I find it's pretty much better with all Android games to use the touchscreen for the menu inputs and then just use the controller for gameplay. The third game, or actually games, that I tried were Soulcraft 1 and 2. This was a very similar story to Demon Hunter 5, with the buttons not being where the game thinks they are, but once you figure them out, it works pretty well, and you can definitely have a fun time dungeon crawling the day away. Though I'd recommend using the touchscreen for menus, again. I should also note that the footage you're seeing here is all Soulcraft 2, but I did test both. Blade Lourdes is the fourth game on our list, and if you like games like Soul Calibur or Mortal Kombat with one-on-one fighting, this is probably the game for you. It seems to be the norm that with the PS4 controller, the game shows buttons to press, but not the correct ones. So at this point, I'm gonna stop mentioning it. It happens in a lot of games. I found that using the thumbstick in this game got you weird results, but in fairness, it does tell you to use the D-pad. Beyond that, you should be able to quickly figure out the controls, and if you're into this sort of game, it does seem to be pretty fun. Game number 5 is a classic, not so much on Android, but for indie games in general, Limbo. Limbo worked perfectly. I had no issues whatsoever, and if you're into games where you move things around, fight giant spiders, this is a great puzzle game. It's also kind of gruesome, not gonna lie. Admittedly, I only tried the demo because I didn't want to pay for a game I already own on both PC and PS4, but it stands to reason that if the demo works, the full game should too, and I recommend you check this one out. Next up is Tiny Miner. It took me all of 2 minutes to figure out the simple controls, and after that, it was off to the races. This game really harkens back to Terraria, with a focus on 2D mining to get cash. If that's the sort of game you're into, I think it's pretty safe to recommend it. And at this point, I'll also mention that I tried the Terraria demo, and it didn't seem to work with a controller at all, unfortunately. Game number 7 is Supercat. I can't say I had ever heard of this game before, but I think it's safe to say that this takes a lot of inspiration from another game starting with Super. That is to say, Mario. If you're looking for a fun little 2D platformer with gameplay similar to Super Mario, look no further. This game will have you jumping on enemy heads and jumping up to smash blocks, collect coins all day long. Well, I guess they're stars. Whatever. Muffin Night is a fairly well-known indie platformer where you play as a knight who transforms each time he eats a muffin. You turn into random versions of yourself, like an archer or a knight, to help you fight through your quests. It's a fun time, and it plays especially well with a controller. It's certainly the kind of game where if you can plug your tablet or phone into the TV, you could probably have a lot of fun playing with the controller that way. Crazy Taxi is one you might be familiar with. This game sees you driving around, picking up customers, and generally driving a taxi in a crazy fashion. I found controller support to be a little spotty in the menus, but once you actually get in-game, it does work well, and it's pretty fun. And for the 10th and final entry on our list, Roboto. If you like the sounds of platforming with a jet-powered hoverboard and a gun, Roboto sounds like your game. It plays great with a controller, and it's just generally a fun game to kill time with. You've got a little blaster, you fly around, sort of, glide, skateboard, I don't know. It's fun. So that's it, guys. If you liked this video, let me know with a like. That actually helps me out a ton. And if you disliked it, go ahead and dislike it. But if you loved it, I would love it if you would subscribe. In fact, I'd really appreciate that a lot. And if you feel like I was missing a game from this list, let me know with a comment below. If you just want more games, check out my other video for another 10 games here. Thanks for watching.